In this video, there are a few important notes I want to cover. This will be with regards to the Coriolis Storm. Throughout today, you may be seeing warnings, they're already up in EU, that this storm will arrive and deactivate all of your shields. Now this is just relevant for the deep desert here. If you're not aware, your base needs to have a shield in order to protect it from these storms. Thus, you have power generators, and you can see on your subfief whether the power is active or not, having that base shield. This simply protects it from taking damage during a storm. So what's special about the Coriolis Storm is your shields will be deactivated for it. On top of that, this storm lasts more than 10 hours, I believe. Now, there is good reason for this, and that is because this is how the developers cycle new content for the endgame. There will be an entirely new deep desert map, and they will do this every single week. You can check their Discord server, and for example, in Europe, the Coriolis Storm is going to start in just about 3 hours from now and end 10 hours later on the Tuesday. This is the time frame when they're going to have the map reset. What that ultimately means is everything here gets destroyed. You have to move out every single week. All of this has to be moved. Everybody has to pack up and be gone. So in order to not lose your base, let's say you build one that you particularly like, well, you can use the solid replicator. You have to do so at a fabricator, and this tool should allow you to just simply copy an entire base. And then when you next want to build that base, you can simply place this down in a new subfief, and all these say blueprints of the items of the entire base will be there and easier to fill out. All you will need to do is have the items available in your storage in order to very easily place those items back. Another very important thing to note with regards to bases here in the deep desert is there are two sections. One is PvE up here on this landmass. There's quite a clear indicator of the border. You basically have this big cliff. Once you head out into these sands, it's all a PvP zone. If you built your base out here, you have to be aware it can potentially get raided. You may get notifications like this here, that the sandstorm disabled the shield on the subfief console. Now when this happens, it is always for 6 minutes after a sandstorm passes. Now in a PvP zone, what that results in is the ability for players to damage your base. They can break into your base, break through your doors, even your walls, using rocket launchers. Simply attacking it with a melee weapon even works, and come in, break your chests and take your loot. And again, that's always just 6 minutes after a sandstorm has passed. And again, only in a PvP zone. But finally, I've got to go up and move this entire thing. How am I going to go about it? Well, I've decided as part of this video, I'm going to attempt to create, as a fully solo player, the Carrier Ornithopter. Yes, I have been playing this game just for 12 days since Head Start release on June the 5th, and this is my progress so far. I have the large spice refinery, and this thing is gigantic, and it allows for a pretty good exchange rate of spending 7,500 spice sand to get 200 spice melange, which has helped me significantly to get enough. Should set me up to be easily able to get the carrier. I just need all the other resources too. The first thing I will do though is demolish this. I need those materials. Keep in mind again, demolishing something will always refund you all of the materials back. And when you build out here in the deep desert, all of the building costs are halved, making it significantly easier to build these high-tier fabricators and refiners. Now that doesn't mean the crafting cost is halved, just the build cost. And this large spice refinery is by far the most expensive building there is. You can see over 1,000 silicon blocks, nearly 1,000 plastinium ingots, 1,000 spice, over 1,000 cobalt paste. Yeah, that's the most expensive building there is. And I built it. So I should have enough materials to build myself a carrier. But first we need the vehicle fabricator right here. So I need those materials in the space. With that removed, we can now place this. However, I need to grab some industrial pumps. I believe I will also need some other items like plasteel composite armor plating, carbide scraps, overclocked power regulators, and so I will go back quickly to my main base in Haga Basin and grab some of those. Is it just me, or my Ornithopter sometimes just bugs out like it's floating? You will see many other players also moving out, and the general thing is to use an assault Ornithopter, which can carry double the amount of storage to transport everything. Back at my base, I believe I need a little more diamondine dust, so we simply grab these chests and we should get enough dust. I say simply, but that was such a pain with these stupid snipers. Back in the deep desert, I can now build the advanced vehicle fabricator. I done this already before to craft the Mark 6 wings for my scout Ornithopter. But now we want to be crafting the carrier. I will start with the chassis, which we can already craft. Next we need the main hull. For this I need composite armor platings. I don't currently have enough, so I'll craft a survival fabricator, and I can craft 10 of them here. Now I can craft the main hull. Then let's get the engine going, get the generator, craft some more plates, and let's already start assembling this thing. Let's see how big it really is. So the chassis first. Wow, that thing is massive. Just look at it. Let's get some more parts on it. The main hull. We'll get the engine put inside. It goes in the back there. The generators just go on the side here. And now we need the side hull and the tail. Might even need 2 side hulls. Yes, I think we will need 2 side hulls because that's one of them. And we probably need 2 tails as well. Damn, this thing's expensive. Let's get 4 wings at least. We will need another 4, but I believe we've got to create a side hull first, which means I need a little bit more diamondine dust and 21 more plates. Let's get those wings attached. There we go. So I've had to go on and rebuild this thing because there's something wrong with the hull. It's not working. Hopefully it will work this time. I have 2 hulls, but they only want to snap onto the one side, not the other. Finally, it clicked. So now we finally have 2 hulls, and we need to attach the 2 tails, grab all my wings. So if you run into the issue you can't place the other hull, just I guess go around and spam a bunch. But that's it. We've finally got a carrier. Let's make sure to put some fuel in. She takes a lot, and she flies like a truck. Now one thing is there's no inventory, no dedicated inventory on this guy. You have the ability to pick up other vehicles, like maybe I can here. Yes, I could carry my baby Ornithopter if I wanted to. We'll put it back down here. There you go. That's hilarious. But the plan is to carry my buggy, not my baby Ornithopter, because that I can put in my pocket. So let's rotate this thing a little bit and land it down here. There we go. That thing is massive. Okay, we did not land it properly. I'll put down the buggy beside it. I will need to make more than one trip to do this. Again, it's very unfortunate the carrier itself does not have any of its own storage. But we'll go and pick up this buggy just like this, and we can fly out of here. The thing is not the most mobile, and it does not have a glide function. So your top speed is going to be like 100 kilometers per hour, and that's just it. So doing this strategy just to say bring a buggy with storage around, probably not the most viable thing. You can craft the sand crawler, and this thing should have storage enough for 7,500 with 20 slots. So that would be the most efficient for, long hauling a ton of stuff in say one trip. But otherwise, you'd be more efficient going with your assault Ornithopter and taking like multiple trips, because that thing can glide and going like 60 kilometers faster than this. For you solo players out there, totally don't get this vehicle. It's not worth doing, especially you can't actually world travel with a harnessed vehicle. So this is actually not going to work at all. Wow, nobody told me that. I can hold shift to quickly release the payload. There goes my buggy. And I will just have to come back with my assault ornithopter to transfer the inventory and simply break down the buggy. So that's something to note. I wish I knew sooner. So I will just fly this thing back to the protection of my base. And be aware, the only reason I crafted this is because I can afford to do so. I have the excess of materials. I can still craft the ore refinery and the spice refinery with the other materials I have still left. And so I can still, at the maximum efficiency, use those and get more materials. But damn, this thing is slow. I believe you can get a booster, but I don't think it's going to make you go much faster, just allow you to accelerate quicker. I'm sure I'll get the booster soon enough. And we'll put it down in my shed here. Yeah, it's taller than 2 tiles. So I'm most likely going to have to make my ceiling higher. You want at least 2.5 tiles. If I look at the details, this thing does say it's safe. So technically it won't take any damage like this, but it'll look a little bit odd. So I better get the rest of my stuff with my assault. But this is literally the only real ornithopter that you can use to transfer items between maps. And now I have to dismantle my poor buggy. So don't make that mistake. And that's it, everything packed up. I think these generators can just stay. The fuel's super easy to get anyway. And I'll just destroy my sub-thief in case they screw it up that it still counts as remaining and then I can't create another base or something. In case you're wondering, the Coriolis Storm is supposed to have begun, but I believe it's a very slow process over the course of those 10 hours. And within those 10 hours, you can still have time to, say, get out of there. It's just like a fog will set in that limits your visibility over time, and it gets worse and worse and worse. But the deletion of all your stuff, of the base that's all in the deep desert, happens basically when the server resets and then it gets replaced by a new map. So yes, the lore says your shields go down, then your base gets damaged and then things get destroyed, but realistically it just gets destroyed when the server gets reset, when the map gets replaced. If I can give any advice to make, say, moving your stuff a little bit easier, it's to not just leave it all to the last day. Try and keep as little as possible stuff there, and every day move what's not needed back to your base in Haga Basin. So that's it, home sweet home. I want to check, can I change the color of this guy? I can indeed. There we go. It's all Harkonnen black and red now. But yes, this thing is a bit of a disappointment. It is very unfortunate you cannot carry a vehicle across the maps. So I don't see it having much use at all for a solo player. I can't drive a spice harvester by myself and fly the carrier. You have to have 2 people to do that. And then ideally you have more people like scouts and assaults to defend the place with rockets. This when you're gathering the spice in those fields. And otherwise, sure, this ability to carry a vehicle is kind of neat, but in terms of Haga Basin, it's a bit pointless. You get around pretty quick anyway, and I wouldn't really use it for a buggy. It'd probably be faster driving with your buggy than picking up and flying it with this thing. And then in the deep desert, sure, you could fly a buggy all the way from one end to a base out in the middle of the deep desert, but honestly, no. Because if you're solo and you're in this thing in a PvP zone, you'd be much easier to be shot down. I'm sure players would enjoy just bringing you down for the sake of it, even though they know you don't even have any loot. If you could transport your vehicles between maps, then maybe it would have some use. As again, the solo player, to say, bring a buggy, even to bring a sandcrawler, just because of the sheer amount of storage it can carry. But alas, not possible, and so I don't really see this thing as much more of just a novelty, I got it kind of thing as a solo player. Not something I would recommend investing in, especially if you have other things still to get. Last thing to cover, of course, would be how big is this thing actually? If I look at the amount of tiles, my base is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and even 7 tiles it pokes out. So you'd want like 8 tiles. In terms of how wide, you probably need 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 wide. And then height, I would say 3 tiles to be comfortable. Last note, in terms of building, I would highly recommend change this to independent rotation. By default for me, it was relative to the player facing. This made it really annoying to say position chests always accurately, because it would depend which way your character is facing, where you're positioned, based on the orientation, and you'd always have to micro adjust these every time you wanted to go build them. But now if it's independent, it will always be this face if I leave it at that. So if I leave it at this and then I come back to it, you can see it's going to be in that direction. So this just makes it far more handy, especially when placing multiple of them down, to always get them in the correct orientation. So thanks for watching. Again, make sure you take down your deep desert base and move everything to Haga Basin that you want to keep. After maintenance tomorrow, it should be a new deep desert, and you should be able to then explore that and go back to resource farming. Once again, a very special thank you to all my channel members for their extra support. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.